الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وآله وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم ربنا أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. اللهم ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم صل صلاة كاملة وسلم سلاما تاما على سيدنا ومولانا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الهوائج وتنال به الرغائب وحسن الخواتيم ويستسقى الغمام بوجهه الكريم وعلى آله وأزواجه وصحبه في كل لمحة ونفس بعدد كل معلوم لك. اللهم في هذا اليوم المبارك فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في غزة، فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في غزة وفي فلسطين وفي يمن وفي لبنان. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربهم وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا رب العالمين. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. We had stopped here the mystics intimate association. I think we had already started talking about some of this stuff in first few lines. We'll go through it again. The mystic's intimate association with the eternal, which gives him a sense of the unreality of serial time, does not mean a complete break with serial time. So he's not totally disconnected from this world. The mystic state, in respect of its uniqueness, remains in some way related to common experience. The day-to-day experience in some way. Okay. This is clear from the fact that the mystic state soon fades away. Fades away, but some of it becomes permanent part of it, isn't it? You would think. Because there is a halo and then there is your maqam, and hal is always hal is always being translated into maqam, and maqam is something more permanent, I would say. Not that I have any idea what this state is, just conceptually of what we have read from other. What we have read from, for example, the description by Holy Allah, like Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani or Mujaddid al-Fisani and all those other people. So this is clear from the fact that the mystic state soon fades away, though it leaves deep sense of authority after it has passed away. Yeah, so in that sense, it becomes part of it. That's how it leaves the sense of authority, whatever it means. Both the mystic and the prophet. So we have already said this is one of his major mistakes. It's always mixing. I mean, we don't even accept that mystic is the same as Sufi, but even if we ignore this fact, this is the major blunder, mixing up the mystic with the prophet. And the prophet, but in the Christian tradition, for example, the prophet is something more generic rather than anything specific as it is in our tradition. So both the mystic and the prophet return to the normal levels of experience. What are the normal? That's the main thing. What is normal and what is abnormal? Let's keep this in mind. So what is normal? What is abnormal? Or extraordinary? So ordinary and extraordinary, but I guess by normal he means everyday experience or our earthly experience. And within earthly experience we can still have this distinction between normal and abnormal, or ordinary and extraordinary. Both the mystic and the prophet return to the normal level experience, but with this difference that the return of the prophet, as I will show later, may be fraught with infinite meaning for mankind. Yeah, but the return of the Sufi also, because he is the follower of the prophet. So, if not infinite meaning for mankind, there's a lot of meaning in his or her return as well. So Ali Hijweri or Baba Farid Shakarganj or Muinuddin Chishti Ajmeri or Nizamuddin Awliya, their return to the earthly experience had infinite meaning. Like, for example, large swathes of India becoming Muslim, for example. And that's the main purpose, really. For the purposes of knowledge, then, the region of mystic experience is really as any other region of human experience, and cannot be ignored merely because it cannot be traced back to sense perception. Sense perception, as described by British empiricism or so-called scientific method, or sense perception according to some other criterion, so that needs to be seen. Nor is it possible to undo the spiritual value of the mystic state by specifying the organic conditions which appear to determine it. What are the organic conditions? Like bodily condition, bodily limits, and the sign, physiological and psychological signs which accompany this experience. Probably that's what I mean. Even if the postulate of modern psychology as to the interrelation of body and mind is assumed to be true, it is all illogical to discredit the value of the mystic experience as a revelation of truth. Now, the thing with Islamic modernism is that, Islamic modernism um, um, is a modernist Islam. And so you use criterion from modern philosophy, science, and epistemology in order to understand and interpret Islamic text. So, and basically a reconstruction of religious thought in Islam to a large extent is the Islamic modernist text par excellence, I would say. So what he is doing is taking psychology, which is one key modernist discipline in this context, and he is taking its criterion and trying to understand Islam according to that criterion. And this is different from Islamic revisionism, for example. Islamic revisionism, on the other hand, provide an Islamic justification modernist discourse. It says, presenting Islam in a way that it is compatible with certain injunction of modernist discourse, and that we would distinguish from Islamic orthodoxy, which is doesn't seek so to understand Islamic texts within itself, and then critiques modern discourse according to Islamic criteria. So that's Islamic orthodoxy. So these three things we should be. So here, as an Islamic modernist, is taking psychology and trying to understand the mystic experience and trying to interpret mystic experience according to the psychological criteria. The reference is so psychologically speaking, all states, whether their content is religious or non-religious, are organically determined. The reference here is to William James. They are organically, psychologically, so they're organ, so or say body is the limit of the scientific form of mind is as much organically determined as the religious. Our judgment as to the creations of genius is not at all determined. Creations of genius not at all determined or even remotely affected by what our psychologists may say regarding its organic condition. So he's pointing here towards the limit of psychological vision, that every experience is organically determined. And he's saying you can't claim that because you can't even explain genius and its existence. And obviously genius is a secular prototype. So how can you explain the mystic experience or the experience of the Prophet according to this criterion, that is organic determination? I mean, he is not going beyond psychology, but this is an internal criticism of psychology, that psychology doesn't need to be limited to organic or bodily determinations. Our judgment as to the creations of genius is not at all determined or even remotely affected by what our psychologists may say regarding its organic conditions. By organic condition here, I'm assuming he means bodily conditions in general. A certain bodily and mental as well, I guess. A certain kind of temperament may be a necessary temperament. A certain kind of temperament may be a necessary condition for a certain kind of receptivity to be a genius or a prophet. But the antecedent condition cannot be regarded as the whole truth. So we can so bodily conditions, your environment may determine your experiences, but those experiences and those states cannot be reduced to that. So it can't be whole truth about the character of what is received, the content of experience. The truth is that the organic condition of our mental states has nothing to do with the criteria by which we judge them to be superior or inferior to the point of value. So this would be an internal critique of physiologically determined psychology. And what he is saying basically is that, so what he's saying is organic causation of the mental state. So mental state, that's your experience. So Sufi states or mystic states are like mental states in a sense. So what he's trying to argue for is that you can't say that mental states are wholly determined by organic conditions or causations which accompany those states, because and this is derived from the general critique of psychologism, that the genealogy or causal history or causal genesis or even non-causal genesis of your mental states is a separate thing from the criteria you judge them. Criteria which we judge them to be. So criteria of truth or falsehood is not determined by how you come to know certain things or the causal chain. So this is the general critique of psychologism, which is obviously found within psychology as well, but in epistemology, more in epistemology and logic. So he is bringing in that to reject the idea that you can explain the Sufi states or the prophetic states merely referring to the organic conditions or causal chain which accompanies them. That's what he's saying. So he's still standing with psychology, but within psychology he's bringing in two traditions. One is which rejects psychologism and differentiates between causal chain and the criterion of truth from a type of psychology. One form is behavioral psychology, for example, which sort of reduces the criterion to causal chain and doesn't really differentiate between causal chain and criterion. So he's still interpreting Islam according to the modernist interpretation, but within modernity he is seeing two streams. One is a good one and the other one is the one which is incompatible with Islam. So that's his whole general method, to find within modernity a tradition which is more congenial to Islamic tradition. Okay, I think we can stop here because he's starting with a long quotation from James. Let's see. So the truth is that the organic causation of our mental state has nothing to do with the criterion by which we judge them to be superior or inferior in order of in point of view. Among the visions and messages, says. So it's a long quotation, so probably it's a good idea. I mean, it's a better idea to stop here and start from here next time. Inshallah, we are coming close to finishing chapter 2. I mean, chapter 1. Hooray! Hooray! It's still some way to go, I think, but it's still the light at the end of the tunnel, as they say. Okay, so